There's a new documentary, Reality Check, inside America's Next Top Model that debuted on Netflix, and talking about what it did to women who were on the show, as well as the women who were watching the show. Now, when I saw it, I didn't just see it as a reality show. I saw it as the truth about the fashion industry because I was once in the fashion industry. The show revealed the trauma that the young girls went through. I actually saw a version of myself because I lived through it in that industry. What some people thought was fake, I saw as the truth behind the way that people in the industry actually treat young models who are trying to make it. When I was modeling, there were things that were said to me that stayed with me, stayed in my mind long after the work pursuing that career ended, not because they were true, but because they were repeated over and over and over again. You're not the right look. You need to change your body. I was constantly told that I was fat. I need to lose weight. My hips were too wide. My thighs were too big. I even had a makeup artist tell me that I needed to have fat sucked out of my top lip in order to have a perfect pout, as she saw it as a makeup artist. And now when you're a young woman and you're not questioning the system because you want to make it, you start to question yourself. So when I watched America's Next Top Model back then, I actually remember thinking that it felt familiar. It wasn't just entertainment, it was actually real. And some of the experiences that I had and some of my friends who were modeling had. It's exactly how the industry works and speaks to young women on a daily basis. And when they get you at that young age, you're very impressionable and you're constantly questioning yourself like, is what they're saying true? Am I not beautiful enough? Like you'll hear someone say, you're gorgeous, but you're beautiful, but you're this, but. What people don't understand is that the modeling industry doesn't just photograph your body, it actually reshapes your mind. It teaches you that your value is conditional, that your worth is measured, because you are actually seen as a product that is trying to sell another product. The approval comes from strangers who are sitting behind a desk and deciding if you are enough. And when that happens during your formative years, being 13, 14, 15, 16 years old is usually when a lot of people start pursuing modeling. You carry that voice with you, even when it's a little bit later, because some people start doing it at 16, 17, 18. By the time you're 21, they start to say you're old. So even when the cameras are gone, when you leave the industry, when the jobs end, when you grow up older, when you get older, those things are still in your mind, believe it or not, because it's been said to you so many times that it affects you. Watching the show again, or watching this Netflix documentary as a woman in midlife now, years later, because the show was started like over 20 years ago, and watching it now, I don't necessarily see it differently, but I know that there's a lot of people looking at it differently with a more critical eye, because back then it was normalized. It was like the beginning of reality TV, because at that time you had America's Next Top Model, you had Survivor, you had American Idol. And this is, a time when people were just getting used to the whole concept of reality TV. We called it that's just how it was. It was entertaining. Now, people look at things with a more critical eye than they did back then. If that show came out now, it would have been done so differently. It would have been approached differently because we have more criticisms. Gen Z and Gen Alpha are looking at things differently than Gen X and the millennials did back then. So now, I feel like it was normalized back then compared to now. And now we're seeing the trauma that some of the young women went through. They're speaking out about the things that they experienced, and people are just looking at it differently. So I see how it psychologically affected and shaped some of the minds of the young women who were on the show who desperately wanted to be models. And it's like that in real life. You desperately want to be a model. So you do the things that they tell you to do because you want to make it. There's very few women that actually become successful top models in the industry. You think about it, if there's 1 million women trying to get there, there might only be 5 who actually become successful models. You do a lot of fashion shows that don't pay well, photo shoots that don't pay because you are trying to make it. It takes years for you to rebuild a relationship with yourself and try to change your mind and stop measuring yourself against the standards that were actually disguised as being perfect standards. And I know I'm not alone in this because there are so many women who want to go through the modeling industry, or who actually went through the modeling industry, or who just grew up watching shows like America's Next Top Model. I mean, that was the first of its kind. Um, but there was internalized messaging that made you believe that you're not enough, that you have to change something about yourself in order to be seen as perfect. And so looking at that documentary now, I really see how people today would feel about it the way that they do. You know, your worth is never something that should be defined by some other authority. They shouldn't be the final voice. The thing about now, when we fast forward to now, is we have a time when people can shape more of what beauty is. These days, you have people creating a whole community using their social media. Back then, that was not a thing. There was an episode where they went on go-sees, which back then you would actually go from agency to agency to meet with people to see if they'll sign you, book you for different things. And now a lot of things are being done digitally. You hear a lot of stories about people being booked for jobs without even leaving their home. You have clients who ask, well, how many followers does this person have? And they look at your social media as an opportunity to see if you've built a community. That's why now you see more women who have different body types, you know, so many more with different hair textures, different skin tones, who are embraced in the industry because they see the value of your community. For example, if you are what's deemed as a plus size model and you have a community of 200,000 people following you on your social media, a brand is going to look at that as you are a person who has a community, you have potential people that they can reach, and they'll book you based on that. Whereas in the past, they completely defined what is and what isn't. They would say, nope, we don't want to sign you. Nope. Whereas now you can be like, well, I have leverage. I have a huge community of people who are following me and who are influenced by me. And then you use that as your bargaining power. Whereas it wasn't like that before. Before, what you saw on America's Next Top Model back in those days was a reality. I remember when I went to New York, they had these conferences where there would be agents coming and you get to meet agents. They look through your portfolio, because those days you actually had a portfolio that you would take from agency to agency, client to client, and they would look through your portfolio. Now people have things digitally. They can look through a digital portfolio. So anyway, I remember going to a convention in New York, and there was this agent who was there from Paris, and she was looking through my portfolio, and she flipped through every page of my portfolio, looking at all of my pictures. And every time she would stop on a page, she would point at my hips and tell me, your hips are too big, your hips are too big, your hips are too big. And then she said, darling, come and see me when you lose those hips, when you lose weight. On average, people were telling me to lose 20 to 25 pounds because they said I was too big. I'm going to put a picture on the screen to show you what I looked like back then. Do you think I was too big? Tell me. Do you think I was too big when you see this picture? This was me, you know, starving because I was trying to lose weight. I was on diets all the time, trying to lose weight because I wanted so badly to become a high fashion model. To this day, I have people who come up to me and say, are you a model? Are you a model? You know, I'm 6'1", taller than the average woman, of course. And I constantly get asked if I am a model, if I did modeling, if I'm continuing to do modeling. And, you know, I loved doing fashion shows and trying on new clothes, getting your makeup done, getting your hair done. Really fun, a lot of fun. But the core of the reality is when you are a model, they see you as a product. You are a product who's trying to sell a service or sell another product. They look at you as, if you wear their clothes, will you sell their clothes? If you are doing an advertisement about their service, will you help to sell their service? So you are a product who is hired to sell for a company. And can you do that? That's how they look at it. And so it becomes that situation of really, really trying so hard to fit into the standards that they had set. And if you didn't fit into those standards, too bad for you. I remember going to castings where they would pull out a measuring tape and measure you in front of everybody to see, do your measurements match up with what they want? Do your measurements match up with what's on your comp card? Now, in those days, you would have a comp card, which was basically a card that had your picture on the front, it had a headshot on the front, and then the back would have like 3 different looks of different outfits, different styles that you can showcase. And then on the front, it has your name, your height, your hip size, your waist size, your bust size, and then your shoe size. If they look at that, then they measure you. Does it actually match what you said on your comp card? Does it match what the designer wants? And a lot of times designers' sample size is really small. And if you don't fit that sample size, too bad for you. You don't get the job. And that's how the industry was working. So you faced meetings, so like a lot of models who they themselves were not feeling good about themselves because you're constantly being told that you're perfect, but something is wrong. Something has to change about you. So it is a tough industry. So I always tell people who are interested in putting their young daughters into modeling to really be cautious and to try to make sure you have somebody who can help you psychologically get through all the things that you need to survive, because it is a tough business. And it's not a simple business. And you also have to be careful of people trying to take advantage of you. I know that there were some clips from the America's Next Top Model, the documentary, where one of the models was saying she felt uncomfortable with a guy who was grabbing her and touching her in strange places. And that's also one of the things that young women have to be careful of these men who come and take advantage of you, people getting too close to your body that you don't feel comfortable. Those are all things to consider, because it does affect you psychologically. You'll have people asking you to do nude shots, and you may not feel comfortable with that. Are you strong enough to say no? Sometimes models will say yes because they're afraid of, stifling their career. They're afraid that other people might not book them. So they do things they don't want to do because they want to be successful. You have to be very strong-willed and have a strong team behind you who believes in you to be able to get through some of these types of situations. Now, we are also, as I said, we're in a society now that it's a little bit different than it was back then. People have more of a voice. People are creating their own lane using social media to create their own communities. So what am I trying to say? I'm just saying that I watched the series, and once again, just like when I watched America's Next Top Model the first time around, I saw myself in some of those situations and in some of those challenging things that some of the young women had to go through. And I just wanted to advise, if you're a young woman and you're watching and you're thinking about going to the modeling industry, to really proceed with a bit of caution and have a strong team behind you, have family and friends behind you who can support you and help you through all of the challenges that you will face when you're trying to pursue that industry. Or create your own lane using your social media. And even when you do that, you still have to have a team around you. Those watching in the United States, I know that there's a new union that's been fought for. I saw a model, Mame Ajay, who talked about being a part of this model alliance and creating a union system that helps support models getting through certain situations, like getting paid, because that's another thing. Some of the models talked about not getting paid for some of the things that they were promised. So in the industry, sometimes that happens. People take advantage when you don't know any better. That kind of stuff can happen as well. So it's a good idea to, as I said, have a team behind you, get an attorney who can support you in reading contracts to make sure that you don't get screwed over, and just be prepared and proceed with caution. I'm not telling you not to get in the industry, because if it's something you really want, just prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, have an attorney, make sure that you have people who are advising you well and not getting taken advantage of. So I just wanted to share my thoughts about that, and please drop in the comments what you think. These days, The modeling industry is also expanding more to midlife. This channel, I talk a lot more about women in midlife. So there's a lot of women who are getting into modeling now later in life, not just the young people, but getting into the modeling industry in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. I see some models really successful in their 60s, 70s, because there's more lifestyle modeling available now, targeting older people, older women and men. So it is important that even if you're, no matter what your age, that you prepare yourself for this ruthless industry, if that is something that you want to pursue. So I want to thank you so much for watching and listening today. Share in the comment section your thoughts about this. Do you have aspirations of becoming a model? Do you know someone who's in the modeling industry or who used to be in the modeling industry? What were their experiences? Share them in the comments. I appreciate you, and make sure that you share this video with someone you think would learn a lot from it. And also, don't forget to like this video. And if you like the content, please do subscribe to this channel. My name is Ivy Prosper, and this is the Ivy Prosper Show. And I look forward to seeing you again.